Quixem Ramirez, our sports editor here at the University Star, and then my man Warren from KTSW Sports. What's going on?
How's it going? This whole video thing, I got a face for radio, so this whole video thing, a little different for me.
That was the line. That was the punchline. I knew he was going to go somewhere with that. What did you guys do this weekend?
I just watched some football. College football Saturday, NFL football Sunday. My Redskins lost, unfortunately, but they look good, and my fantasy team kind of made up for it. So all in all, it's not bad without football.
Yeah, Saturday did not leave the apartment all day. Sunday, watched the Browns, let me down again, and then went to see the soccer game last night. Good effort from the Bobcats there last night against UT.
Yeah, I know the Bobcats lost 2-0. Not quite the showing they wanted, but I heard it was a really good game. Yes, Sunday, obviously NFL going on. Texans took a major L yesterday. Ryan Fitzpatrick didn't look as good as what we thought he would be.
It's tragic.
Turn over the ball. But Saturday, college football. And obviously Texas State played Illinois on ESPN News. Had a little weather delay there and all that good stuff. But Texas State loses 42-35. I tell you, it's a close game. Coach Fran, I think one thing that he said that was really interesting is that he didn't want to take any moral victories away from the game. He thought they should have won. So that's really interesting for him to say. But I thought it was a good game for the Bobcats. Being able to go on the road, Big Ten country, it is a Power 5 team, conference, Champaign. Didn't look like the crowd was there, but at the same time too, you're still going into an environment that you're not comfortable with, and it was their first road game of the season. I thought the Bobcats did pretty well.
Coach Fanchoni said, he put the nail on the kind of thing. They really should have won the game. They led in time of possession. They ran 32 more plays than them. They got more first downs. They looked like a good team for 3 quarters. In the fourth quarter, they kind of did some things. Wes Lunt, did his usual fourth quarter heroics, and they're 1-2 on the season. Easily, they could have been at least 2-1.
Yeah, give Illinois credit, students credit. They actually filled the block I in their student section. They've had issues with that in the past, if you've seen the internet. So give them credit for showing up for a little bit. But I like that Fran said no moral victories. Going in there, Illinois, this is the Power 5 team that Texas State can beat. The Leicester in the Big Ten, they're Todd Beckman, their coach, 3rd year in that transition period still. So this was the game they could have won. Navy, I think, with their unconventional offense would have been tougher. But this Illinois team, this was a game they could have won. And I like that he said no moral victories, that, hey, we're here to win. And the moral victory thing, that's not what we're about.
Yeah, it was really impressive, actually. I agree with you. These are teams in those Power 5 conferences that you should beat. But one thing I think that stood out to me was first game of the play, 75-yard touchdown rush. And I think every Bobcat that was watching that game was just like, here we go again. But for the Bobcats to fight, be resilient, for the defense to keep it going, and to keep them in check, hold them up in check, because easily after that could easily be 21-0 on the road. But they were able to, maintain their composure, do their thing, and stay steady. And one of the things that I thought was really impressive as we go into our spotlight players was David Mayo. I think he was a key contributor in that, taking over Rackbo. He's now the man on defense. He's the face of the defense that everyone knows. Able to get, I believe, 11 tackles, 2 pass breakups, and he just seemed like he was everywhere on the field no matter what for the defense. So I thought he did a pretty good job there in helping the Bobcats be secure, be comfortable, and after that quick breakout that they got, was able to kind of keep the Bobcats level-headed, I want to say.
And it's nice to see Ben Ija, too, in the number 1 receiver role, get playing time and get 2 touchdowns, 5 receptions, 65 yards. Tyler Jones did a little improvisation on a play. He was back in the end zone. Corner sucked in. Nice little touchdown grab. He got 2 touchdowns, which is 1 more than he had all of last year. So that was a nice performance to see Ben Ija step up in the role.
Yeah, he was the number 1 receiver, so it's good to see him finally step. That was a really nice touchdown catch through that first one.
Dragged his feet in.
It was close.
I'm
surprised I didn't review it. So.
I was surprised about that. But I thought Colby Targan played really well. Big interception, obviously, the 48-yard return. But the one play in the fourth quarter key drive, Illinois was driving. They had a big 3rd down stop there, open field tackle, one-on-one there. Could have to get the Bobcats the ball back there. I thought he had a great game, and he didn't have spring practice because he plays baseball,
right.
So he's still kind of learning the defense, the new defense under John Thompson, and he's doing a great job. He had a good game against Navy, his first career sack there, so he's helps solidify the defensive backs, their safeties, and with the corners and everything.
Before we go into our other spotlight player, You guys think that the defense is accustomed now to John Thompson's new multiple scheme, putting guys in different places? Because to me, it seems like at times they look really comfortable and they know what they're doing, and then at times you're just like, whoa, what is going on? I think the verbiage or something is getting lost in translation out there on the field.
In the first half, they held Westlawn to like 60 yards on 8 attempts. It was really impressive to see. They're mixing blitz patches up, and they were just really getting to him. Then he settled down. They looked kind of shaky there, and then they fell. For the most part, I see some good things, especially second half against Navy. Held them to no points in the third quarter. I see some improvement, and I think they are getting comfortable. And as we go to the Sun Belt Conference play, we'll see them, get their feet wet with the system.
I think you can tell it. They've kind of adjusted because you don't see any personnel issue packages like having to call timeouts because you have too many men on the field or not enough guys on the field. That's always something you got to look for with these new defenses and all these multiple fronts, like they did the amoeba front. Yeah. But so you don't see any like miscommunication of like who subs in and who subs out. So I think that is one of the biggest things there, because if you're blowing timeouts on that, you're just shooting yourself in the foot, and that's not what you want to do. So I think they've kind of adjusted to that, the packages and everything. I think that's a good start.
Yeah, and I agree. I think their defense is looking really good. It looks like they've simplified things from last year. I think last year there was a lot of verbiage, a lot of different things that they were trying to do. I think this year Coach Thompson just lets the players play. I think he calls a play, but he also gives the players enough freedom to make adjustments, you could say. I think another thing is the fact that they're aggressive. I think they're a lot more aggressive this year than they were last year. I think last year, stopping the run was nice, but they get killed on the pass. This year, it doesn't seem like they're getting killed on the pass. Now, granted, you play Navy as one of your games. It's not going to throw the ball as much, but they're not getting killed in the pass like they did last year. I think it's because they're a little bit more aggressive. So I think Coach Thompson's doing a good job. I just kind of wanted to see what your take was.
They did get killed in the pass, though, against Navy.
Yeah,
they did.
Considering
they're a run team, and Fran even talked about we want to make them throw it. He did say that.
Yeah, I just think the only thing with that Navy game though is when you play a team Navy, you're just gonna keep practicing for a run. I just think that you're fine. I want to say 90% of practices probably was focused on that, just stopping that option and the guy in motion, the guy coming back and stuff like that. But you're right though. Greg Mager and David Mins, I had to give them personal shout outs, but they got caught up in the play action 2-3 times there. So, I guess it happens. But another player that I thought is handling adjustment well is Tyler Jones. Tyler Jones here for the game, 29 of 43, 336 yards, 4 touchdowns. He threw a pick, but that was a tip ball. And then he had 11 yards rushing for, a touchdown. Had a nice little scramble there inside the 10. So, I think he's handling this no huddle pretty well. I think it's more his style of play. And I think something that was said on ESPN News by the color guy was that he's a winner. I know it's not translating yet, but I think, he's going to stay here for 4 years. He's not going to go to the draft or anything. But when he's going to be here junior and senior year, I think you're going to see that winner mentality kind of translate throughout the team because of the way he plays ball. So he's another spotlight guy that I thought did really well for Illinois. And another guy like David Mayo was just everywhere on the field, I felt like.
I'll stick with defense, too. I'll go with Jared Jeter Gilmon. He started in place of Arakpo, got 7 tackles, 1 tackle for loss. It's going to be tough to replace Arakpo, but if he can replicate like 80-85% of what Arakpo does, that's enough for this defense to still succeed going forward.
Yeah, and I thought Rob Lowe played well. They were really attacking that screen game early on, and it worked really well. He had 5 catches for 55 yards and then 26 for 118 yards rushing. Really his first great game. He had 86 yards, I think, against Navy. Good game there. But finally, like his first, being the horse that we all thought he would be, 26 carries. His workhorse there and over 100 yards.
We're not counting Pine Bluff anymore.
We can count. Well, you can count Pine Bluff, but I mean,
yeah, I know what you mean.
Serious against a legitimate opponent.
Yeah. In that game, I think he only played like 2.5 quarters anyways.
And got like
110 yards on 10 carries. So, yeah, but like legitimate, serious opponents. Yeah. But going back to Tyler Jones, when he threw that pick 6, I don't know if we're going to touch that. Are we going to touch on that or not?
Nah, we will.
Okay.
I mean, you can talk
all
about
it. When he came back to pick 6, everyone had the game's probably over. But he came down and led that team on a drive to make it interesting for at least the onside kick. And I think that shows you what type of quarterback he is, because other ones could have just, all right, 3 and out, we're done, mailing in. Let's get back on the plane
He did
here.
it in 89 seconds, too.
Yeah.
89
Quick.
seconds.
So what you're
He's got
saying
the it
is,
factor, as they said.
what you're saying is that Peyton Manning pulled a Tyler Jones, seeing that
Yes.
Peyton Manning did it on Sunday and
Yes.
Tyler Jones did it on Saturday.
Yes, so
I'm just saying, you know,
let's
Texas
just-
State's on a bigger and better thing.
Tyler Jones heading to Canton. Look at right, heard it here first.
Is he getting the jacket?
He's getting the jacket.
I don't want to put that on him, Ryan Fran,
Neither
or
am
somebody.
I. No,
Somebody
I'm
listen to
kidding.
this and be like, "Oh, these guys." No, but it's true. I agree with you. For him to kind of come back and do what he did was really impressive. I just think that where it went all wrong, and we'll touch on this a little bit too, was the weather delay. I think that kind of stopped the momentum of the Bobcats. You kind of felt that too. I think once the weather delay came, I think it was like an hour, 58 minutes, something crazy like that. You were just kind of like, oh, the momentum. They got to come back out here, pregame routine. Halftime's going to be 12 minutes. I just think that's where it all went wrong for the Bobcats.
To their credit, I mean, they still outplayed them in that second quarter
Yeah.
after the rain delay.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the fourth quarter when they had a lead. They're 16-0 in Coach Fran's tenure. When they have a third quarter lead, they lost it really early. They took a couple punts. West Lunk got 2 scoring drives. They kind of, roughing the kicker penalty. I think the fourth quarter when they had a lead and they were still, in the game and they just made some stupid little mistakes and then Tyler Jones didn't get a drive. I think that's really where the game went wrong.
Yeah, I thought that coming out of halftime is where they kind of lost it. Like you mentioned, coming out of the weather delay, they marched right down the field, scored a touchdown up 21-6. You're like, all right, this is like the Wyoming game last year, just an hour less delay here. So I thought they came well out of the delay. It was just that 12-minute halftime seemed like that got them more than the 2-hour break in between there. And I do think the Wyoming game helped them because most of the players were off of the weather delay.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think I think that having that experience from last year that was like a 3-hour delay if I remember correctly.
It was 3 hours.
It was kind of ridiculous, but I do agree with you. Them coming out, them knowing what to do, and that kind of leads us into our next segment, something that we got new here from the Field of the Fans called the good, the bad, and the ugly. I really wish we could do something like the good, the bad, the ugly, but. I'm just going to kind of plug that in.
Get your production team on that.
Yeah. Well, I got to get on it too. So, but the good for me was that Texas State offense putting up 35 points and finding its rhythm. After playing Navy last year, I think they were kind of out of sorts. Taking that bye week before Navy, I think just really hurt them a lot. But now you kind of saw them getting rhythm. It looked like Tyler Jones he wasn't thinking, he was just reacting. It became second nature to him. So I think that's good and bodes well for when they head to Tulsa.
My good is their second quarter defense. I mean, after the Josh Ferguson touchdown, they really settled down in the first quarter. In the second quarter specifically, they allowed 4 consecutive punts that were all 3-and-outs. For an offense like Illinois that really excels in the pass, they could really do nothing against the Texas State defense.
And my good was them scoring a touchdown after the weather delay. I think everyone when the rain came was like, okay, let's see how they react because they had the momentum going and they came out and continued the momentum until halftime there. Yeah,
definitely. I agree with that too. Very good points on both goods. Bad was the weather delay for me. I think the weather delayed. They got Wyoming'd, as I like to say. I think karma kind of came back to bite us. So last year, getting the win against Wyoming after a 3-hour delay at home. I think you go on the road, delay. Illinois got to figure some things out, I think, helping them out because I truly believe if that weather delay doesn't happen, I think the Bobcats put up the way it was looking, I think, four touchdowns, maybe another field goal. I mean, they were on a roll, and Tyler Jones was just reacting and knew where he wanted to put the ball. Rob Lowe was starting to find his holes because he started off slow a little bit in that Illinois game, but then just started to pick the rhythm up with the screen game, finding holes and stuff. So I think that's definitely the bad for the Bobcats.
My bad, I'm going to beat a dead horse again, is the fourth quarter execution. They, for 13 minutes, the last drive notwithstanding, they just really dropped the ball. David Mims had a costly running into the kicker penalty that really turned 3 points into a touchdown, and then you had a pass interference that turned another touchdown. It wasn't. The execution wasn't there, and they really needed to step up because knowing that Illinois is really good in the fourth quarter, they just really dropped the ball there.
My bad is the game changing from ESPN News to internet-only ESPN3. And another thing, part of the bad, NASCAR Nationwide Series, minor league racing bumped us. And another thing, too, please, ESPN graphics guy, I know you're watching. It's TXST, not TSU when the penalty is up, okay? It's TXST. Come on.
Yeah, someone's got to call ESPN. I think Dr. Tice got to make a phone call and say, hey, we are TXST, not
or
Texas
marketing.
Southern.
Hello,
Yeah,
marketing. Someone.
Shout out to those guys. Ugly, Tyler Jones' pick six essentially ended the game. I know he still drove down after the fact and made it interesting to where it was down to an onside kick, but the pick six, I think, kind of sealed the game there for Illinois, and they were able to take that 42-35 victory.
My ugly is rushing defense. I mean, they allowed 219 rushing yards against a team that in the two games prior allowed 214 total. So that's not good. They allowed the 74-yard against Josh Ferguson, which wasn't a rush, but it was a big play. And they just could not stop the run. And for a team that really excelled last year, it was a little disconcerting to see them, struggle against a team that doesn't run the ball very well.
My ugly, it was the penalties, that costly roughing into the kicker, because you're like, all right, defense it was the bend but don't break mentality there. All right, we can give up a field goal, and then Mims runs into the kicker, and you're like, oh, geez, we're probably not going to get another stop here. Touchdown, and just kind of deflated there. 8 penalties, so some improvement over Navy. Didn't see any unsportsmanlike conduct or anything like that, but still, got to get those penalties down.
Especially after 11 penalties at home against Navy. I guess you'll take 8 on the road, So hopefully the Bobcats can shore it up, play a little bit more defense. You guys got any final thoughts?
Next week against Tulsa, huge game. The difference between 1-3 and 2-2, especially non-conference, I think is a really huge gap. And if they go 1-3, it's not really looking good for their season.
Yeah, I think coming into the season, we all thought 2-2 splitting non-conference was going to be nice. If you could get to 3-1 by taking one from Illinois or Navy, that's great. But 2-2 would be nice because the Sun Belt's wide open this year. Lafayette's had a down non-conference. They've also had a tough non-conference schedule. Georgia Southern, the newcomer, looks like the best team there. So it's wide open. Come in strong, get a win to build some momentum coming into Sun Belt play because you got Idaho. I know they've looked a little better, but still, you should beat Idaho your first game.
Completely agree. I think Tulsa is a must-win. You got to go 2-2 in the non-conference. 3-1 would have been ideal, but 2-2 I think is even more ideal. So that way when you head into conference, like you said, it's wide open. You can find us at theuniversitystar.com or at ktsw.net. Leave us any questions or comments there. You can also tweet at us at UniversityStar, at UStar_sports, and KTSW Sports using the hashtag Field2Fans.
And you can listen to Otis on Bobcat Radio every Wednesday on KTSW 89.9 or KTSW.net at 11 a.m. So.
I like the plug. It's a one big student media family here at Texas State University. For Sports Editor Quixem Ramirez, KTSW Sports Director Schorr, I'm your host, Odus Evbagharu. And like I always tell you fine folks, we'll see you next time. Bye.